All right, so our next speaker is a fantastic gentleman who, gave me a lot of hope during a hard time with the opportunity of, well, go study this now. And I did, and I enjoyed it. Now everything has changed, so I'm restudying everything all over again. You know what the changes I'm talking about, right?
I know, buddy.
Yeah, okay. So please give a warm welcome for Corbin Chivers.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I'm a little shorter here. I gotta put it down a notch or two. Got more notch. How's that? Is that good? Is that right? Okay. Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great day so far. My name's Corbin. I'm delighted to be here with you guys, and thank you to Matthew and Teryhn for having me. I'm here to talk to you guys. Sorry, it feels like a little bit. How's that? We're good. Okay. Here to talk about a couple of things that are very near and dear to my heart, real estate and entrepreneurship. So I'd like to start with just a couple questions for the audience. Who here owns their own home? All right. Awesome. Lots of you. Who here owns an investment property? Oh, okay. Great. Awesome. Who here rents but would eventually like to own? Awesome. Okay, great. Anybody here own their own business? Okay, wow. Okay, wow. That's like half of you guys here. Okay. Anybody like to own their own business or start their own business? If they don't already? Okay, cool. So half of you guys here own your own business. Pretty impressive. So there should be lots of questions and answers at the end of this. So we're going to go through some stuff, and then at the end there's a Q&A. So feel free to think of any questions you have, and at the end we'll be doing a Q&A. So I'll get started. As a licensed realtor since 2014, I've learned a lot about the challenges and rewards of building a successful real estate company. It's my hope today to share some of these experiences and insights that I believe will help you take your real estate game to the next level or your business to the next level, whatever that business might be. And if you're in the audience and you don't own any real estate at all, and you don't own your own home, but maybe those are things you're considering of doing, we'll have lots of time at the end for Q&A, so please save all your questions. Short background on myself, just to give you kind of an idea of who I am and where I came from. I've done nothing but sales and business since I was probably in grade 7. So if you're wondering what one of my first businesses was at that age, I can share one of my favorites. The first one was selling beaded jewelry at the flea market. I know what you're thinking. I called the stand Brock's Beads. I sold beaded jewelry. I had a hand-drawn picture of a necklace on the poster, drawn in thick felt, and Brock's my middle name, so I thought it was pretty genius marketing. My dad showed me that I could simply import jewelry from China for $2 each, having to buy in bulk quantities, and then I could resell it at the flea market for a cool $9. That was $7 per necklace, a whopping $7 per necklace. This wasn't $7 per hour. This was a new word that I just discovered called profit. $7 of profit per necklace. I figured if I could sell one per hour, I was at least breaking even with the minimum wage, and I felt I could probably do more than that, and I was right. I was easily earning triple that, being a young, shy kid who couldn't string two words together, sometimes how I feel like right now. The only thing that really sucked was the 4:30 a.m. wake-up times, because I wasn't then, and I'm sure not now, a morning person. But for that kind of cash, I was pretty determined to make it happen. After doing this business on the weekends for a while, I quickly realized I was good at organizing the event, but I wasn't so good at selling stuff. And I figured, well, maybe if I could have another person, it might be way easier. And I figured they could help with the sales, and that would increase my profit. So from there, I didn't want to split my profits, and I figured, I didn't want to split my profits with this person, or else it wasn't going to be worth it. So then it struck me, maybe let's hire an employee. So if I could get someone else to work for me, maybe another girl in my school, then they could help me with sales, and they should be happy learning less than me because I set it up, I planned it and organized it, and they were just going to get picked up and dropped off and make some money. And I was right. So I put the word out that I was hiring at my high school. Keep in mind, I was in grade 8, 13 years old. very confused, mixed results. Everybody wasn't jumping on board. I think there was actually zero interest from everybody, but one girl who was eager to make some quick cash, and she was on board. So the next thing I know, I have this friend picked up at 4:30 in the morning on the weekend by my dad, and she's all ready to come to work for me. It actually worked out perfectly. As I was hoping, the friend was very happy to work for a wage, and I was still entitled to the profit, which far exceeded the wage. And as sales started to ramp up, both her and I got better at selling. I was very happy to have someone help me make more sales and earn more profit, and she was very happy to have a very easy and consistent job where she could just get picked up and dropped off and make a very good hourly wage. For the record, I did, however, end up paying her commission in the end because she, like most of us who are entrepreneurs, respond better to incentives. So I learned that lesson early, and basically, and that was a great summer job, and we did that until the weather got disgusting. For me, this was one of the first aha moments in my life where I had the realization that I didn't want to work for I didn't want to work for anybody else. I certainly wanted to work for myself, or at least get paid based on commission. For me, it just seemed like the excitement of being your own boss, having the flexibility, having the freedom, and all that potential for profit and everything else immediately outweighed any doubts I had about failing in business or sales. I'm not saying I didn't have a lot of fears, but the excitement far outweighed those things for me. One of the next big factors that became very important to me as I was getting very interested in business was when I was just getting to high school. My dad and his best friend had come together, and what seemed like a totally crazy idea, they came up with this random invention. This invention was called the pop-up vent. It was a heating register that just goes in the ground, something that's not a very exciting product. But basically this thing, rather than having a separate deflector on top of your heating register, you actually had a built-in deflector, okay? So the separate deflector was very much better than the competition, so it was a total hit. This is just a heating vent in the floor. Probably could see one on the ground right now. So basically, I witnessed my dad invent this invention, have basically a prototype for this thing, go to market, and then watching his total commitment and hard work that he poured into this company was very impressive to me. And my dad was somehow working a full-time job and managing his own company with this heating register. And what was even more impressive to me was that he sold the company and then he framed the check on the wall for what he sold the company for in our basement suite. And this was a huge check, so I was very impressed. And that to me was another aha moment about business for me. I hope I'm not boring you to death. I got a couple last funny things here. So another incredibly unique business I got involved with in grade 8 and 9, so 13, 14, 15, was the BC Inventors Society. I was 14, or 2001, to date me, and my dad had developed a close relationship with the BC Inventors Society based on the invention that he had, the pop-up vent. He eventually ended up taking over as the president of the entire organization. And then he started to, he offered me this role of marketing director. And he paid me $10 an hour to take this at-home course from UBC on internet marketing. This is 2001. So anybody who's like maybe geeky out there, a couple funny things, if you happen to be geeky like me, the importance of meta tags was like the #1 first chapter in the UBC SEO, Search Engine Optimization course, meta tags. If you didn't know about meta tags, you weren't ranking on Google. So that was what we were learning about back 20 years ago. And Dreamweaver was the application I made to make many, many websites, and we only used PayPal. That was the only way to do business back then. My dad hired me as the marketing director. My business card said so anyway. And he told me that I had to tuck in my shirt, which was a huge fight at the time. And he introduced me to dozens of I had long hair down to here, by the way. Parted in the middle. I know it's, there's pictures. Chris and Deb can show you, I'm sure. Anyways, basically, my dad hired me as a marketing director, and I met dozens of inventors, I should say, who all had just started their businesses and were seeking guidance and marketing support. So my dad then told me to sell their products on eBay, and that's where we could test out the pricing. Sorry if that's making a loud sound. We could test the pricing out on eBay, and I could make a tidy commission for every sale. If you're wondering what my two highest selling inventions were, I can tell you. The first one was a very boring product, and what it was a plastic device that you would actually mount under your kitchen cabinets, and you'd hang several Ziploc bags in this plastic device under your kitchen cabinets. And I actually thought it was genius, and at the time, I had two in my bedroom, and they were holding leftover beaded jewelry from my flea market back when I was in elementary school. However, I'm sure nowadays the police will come after you for using so many plastic bags, so I digress. The second product was actually far more interesting, and I'll get to that in a moment. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't way over my head at this point. I was still 14, very immature, and I had that long parted hair in the middle, and I didn't want to tuck my shirt in. And I didn't look or act the part, that is for sure. Eventually, my dad had me fly out to Pittsburgh for the biggest international conference of inventions in the world. And it was amazing. This is where I saw everything from spy cameras and pens, this is 2002, pretty advanced back then, to a device that let women urinate standing up. That apparently was a huge hit in Japan. I'm not kidding. Korea and Japan ate it up. It was like a multi-millionaire. It was like the featured invention at the Pittsburgh International Convention. Was this thing you could pee into? I digress. It was also here that I met my next client, a very amazing woman named Maya Sinclair. This would be the second product that I sold on eBay. Now, her invention was a thin piece of colorful foam blanket that you would put over the surface of the water in your bathtub. Now, you could file your nails on it, you could read a book on it, you could keep your water warmer for longer. To me, it wasn't a bad idea. Long story short, I was 15 years old, selling these things like hotcakes on eBay for a very tidy profit, over 20%, and I couldn't believe it. The end of the story is she actually eventually made it to Dragon's Den, and in 2006 she was on Dragon's Den, and let's just say the Dragons did not appreciate her invention very much, and if anybody wants afterwards to see the clip, I'm happy to share it with them. So I was killing it on eBay. I made commission, but wasn't good for her business. Anyways, after I graduated high school, just to fast forward a little bit and get this over with for you guys, I graduated high school. I decided to combine my passion, which was health and fitness, with my love for business and sales. So my experience has been business, sales, starting companies, involved in companies, nothing but business. That's all I loved. But I also was into fitness and health. And for me, that was a passion. So I was very determined in finding a way to make it work. So I became the general manager of Langley Fitness World, I should say, for about a decade. So I was the youngest GM in the company at 23 years old. And it drove me to work harder than I ever had before in my entire life. I worked hard and did very well. We were the #2 club out of 18 locations when I was the manager there. I loved my job, and I loved the people that I worked with. I loved going to work every day, knowing that I was helping to make a difference by improving their fitness. And for myself, that was a big change in my life that improved my life, was fitness. So it didn't even feel like a job to me. And I was working there about 7 days a week, quite a bit, and very passionate about that. And the second best part of that job was the training that we received. They used to I didn't write it down here, but that actually comes from the 50s hardcore sales training of commission-based car sales. So we were hardcore. It was hardcore sales training, several hours per week. We used to spend hours every day role-playing the different scenarios and trying to see who could sell the best gym membership package to each other. If anybody wants to hear my pitch, I used to do telemarketing for Fitness World, so I could tell you my Steve Nash Fitness World pitch for a 7-day membership upsell to, your all those things that you've probably heard of before. That was a very hardcore sales environment, and all we did was outgoing calls all day, every day, trying to get gym memberships. But working at the gym was great, and I earned great compensation, but I still wanted more. So I was driven by the idea at this point that maybe I could invest the money I earned from my job and start my own business of some kind. And that was the big driver for me, was wanting to start my own business. That was a dream from when I was little, and then when I was in basically talking about, when I was basically going through all that, I was always wanting to start my own business. So long story short, I eventually started my other business in 2012. I still worked at the gym. I was actually a 1/3 partner with my chiropractor and my dad, and we started a fitness product that was a plastic fitness product to treat back pain. We originally called it the trigger pointer to trigger point back pain. And it was this thing you put behind your back, and you would basically push forward, and it would help trigger point the pain in your back. After we decided that we couldn't actually get a copyright on the name, I decided to rename it to Dr. B's Back Reliever. And the whole thing was that it's leverage, so it's a play on words. You're using lever, so Dr. B's Back Reliever was pretty genius. Very smart. Thank you, Chris. Anyways, basically that company, I was basically nonstop in sales from 2012 to 2014, calling on chiros, physios, massage therapists, gyms every single week, 6-7 hours a day, trying to sell my product. Now, it was a fun business, and I sold lots of these things, but it wasn't profitable. So we eventually end up exiting the business at a loss, and then I started my real estate business, and that's when I sold that company at a loss. Long story short, that was basically a big lesson to me, and if you leave a business unattended too long, when things seem too good, that was a huge lesson to me that you need to always pay attention to business. To fast forward, a couple years later, after I've been working at the gym for 8 years, the ownership group that owned Fitness World when I worked there started putting huge pressure on us to switch locations and manage different clubs, and basically took our commission and compensation down 30%. So like anybody, when your boss says, hey, you're going to make 30% less income, you start not feeling so great. So to put it lightly, this was a shock to myself, didn't take it well. And, 1 minute, this American company bought Fitness World and was promising so much opportunity and all these different things. And then the next minute, management's gutted. We all got our compensation cut, and bonuses went to zero. This was devastating. And as soon as I realized things weren't going to get better and I would be able to last, I sought out my business partner, best friend, Chris McGill, who'd been a successful realtor for a few years previous to myself. And he'd been working with his family, very successful in the business. I bought my first home with Chris at the time in 2011 when he got his first license. And he'd been always telling me that I should come and work with him and his family. So eventually, 2014, I took the plunge. I got into real estate. And to skip ahead, because I know we're going to work about time here, I've been in this business for over 8 years. I've sold over 600 homes. I built up my team to not only include Chris, but Deborah, who's here as well, too. She's a fantastic realtor that's also here tonight. We have 3 assistants, and we're also looking to grow bigger. I'll save this rest then for the Q&A, as I understand we're going to get into that. Getting here hasn't been easy. I got into some really serious debt in 2015, 2018 as well. But since then, we pulled it together. And the last 3 years, we've served an average of 100 homes sold per year. So happy to share anything with you guys and answer any questions. I'll give it back to you, Matthew.
Great job, Corb.
Well, thank you very much.
I already knew the story. I told well.
Wow, I didn't pay him to be here to say that or anything. Earl, I remembered your name.
Yes, thank you, Corbin. I was curious about the very beginning of your story. The girl in high school, was it? How much did you pay her?
That's a very good question. So to start, I was very much thinking I could do this by myself. And I thought, well, my dad's going to drop me off there at 4:30 in the morning. I would go there. I would sell these beaded jewelries all day, 12 hours a day. Then I realized I kind of suck at sales at that point. And then I was finding out the way to find out how I could pay her. And originally, she was happy with $7 an hour, which was minimum wage. But then I found out that incentives work better. And an hourly wage is not really reflective of like someone aggressively going after sales. So I found out that paying her a commission of 25% of the profit was a way better go. And then she made about $20 an hour back in 2002. Go ahead.
What is the happiest piece of information your clients, because clearly you've had many clients when you sell homes, what is the happiest piece of information you give them? Other than it's sold.
I was just going to say, you're sold. Well, you took the thunder away from that. That's actually the happiest piece of information we talk to clients about is basically when we're updating them on everything that we do. We provide a lot of services in our business for real estate, so our clients expect to get that feedback right away. And they're usually very happy because we've got, clear expectations and we kind of be able to deliver the results. And when they get the announcements of, hey, you've got multiple offers and hey, you've got all this positive information, I mean, we have a great job with our clients and they love that.
Awesome. I didn't want you to just say sold, so that was a great answer.
Thank you. Please.
Which areas do you specialize in or property types?
Great question. So we as a team, so between like Deborah, Chris, and myself, we do residential real estate in the Fraser Valley. Boundary in Burnaby is kind of where we personally service. And then we have a great partner in Vancouver that we service with as well too. So a lot of people who we work with in Vancouver, we team up with. And then when it goes past the Fraser Valley, we have a lot of partners as well too. So we got referral partners in the interior, referral partners out of province, but we service personally the Fraser Valley. Oh.
One of the biggest differences I find between entrepreneurs and everyone else is entrepreneurs are proud, they brag about their failures. So what was your biggest failure and why are you proud of it?
Great question. You're an entrepreneur yourself, I can tell. You know what? Building a business from the ground up, okay? So coming from a job where I had a salary, a compensation, where the boss is paying me, I don't have to start anything, no risk taken. Going from that to starting a real estate business and then literally having the first year go to garbage, to be honest with you guys. It was the second year that really, really made a huge difference as an entrepreneur. So what that meant was breaking even on a business. So a lot of people think, hey, where was the aha moment? Where was the biggest win? What's your happiest moment? It's literally breaking even for a lot of people, right? I mean, you start a business, you take a ton of risk, and that was 2015 for me. So, I mean, that was the first big moment. But then, add a couple things to that in 2015, then later than 2018, we had a lot of challenges as a business. So the market changed, a lot of the tactics we used changed, and a lot of realtors got wiped out. We found a way to win, we found a way to get ahead, and we found a way to pivot. And those moments where we were like, there's no money in the coffers, we're a couple months from like, that's it, were pretty tough months. So to come out of that were pretty huge wins and pretty happy moments, I should say.
All good. Fantastic. You have a couple more minutes if you'd like, or you can finish now if you want.
Anybody got any other questions about business, real estate, investment, the market? They want to hear anything about Teryhn?
I would like to ask, because I see you do a lot of social media marketing and stuff. What would you say has been one of the biggest influences in your marketing and one of the biggest returns in your marketing?
Great question. So I think when we first started, I asked everybody who owns a business. Anybody want to put their hands up again who owns a business? Right, okay. So regardless of the business that you're in, I think a big part of the success of any business is how you treat your current clients and your previous clients. And every dollar you spend on your previous clients versus acquiring a new client it's pennies on the dollar. So I'll give you an example. If anybody wants to mention their business, feel free to call it out. But whatever business you have, you got to think about how you stay in touch with your customer, client, what level of relationship you're going to have. And if you think about your client long term or your business long term, as we do, you got to think about all the transactions that might occur and all the earning opportunities that might occur off marketing to that client. And typically, if they like you, they love you, they trust you, they do one buy, one transaction, one whatever, they're far easier to convince to get the next transaction. Pretend you're selling widgets online, right? So let's say you got a marketing website, you're selling whatever the product is. They buy the product. Well, are you sending them feedback requests? Are you getting Google reviews? Are you getting an engagement? Are you sending them a gift card so the next time they buy, they get a discount? Are you getting marginal differences every time they transact because they've been a loyal customer versus if they're just entering your website day one? Long term is kind of the answer to a lot of that in terms of how do you stay in touch with your clients. We invest a ton in our previous clients as realtors, and 40% of our business is previous clients. And that's because we have a contact with them on a regular basis. We want to update them. They liked us and trusted us and chose us to do business with, whether they're buying a widget or whether they're buying a home. And if you really honor that, you can get a way better return from them than you will acquire a brand new client.
Yeah, and referrals too.
Referrals too, yeah. So, Chris made a great point. So Deb and Chris, about 30% of their business is referrals. So like any business, what's the best endorsement? Is someone that liked the product, liked the service, chose to use it, wants to refer, happy to do it. Obviously, that's the best compliment you could have as a business. So when you pursue that through follow-up and customer service and realize that after the sale, that's when the client begins and you have a lifetime relationship to acquire more business from them, that's when you start to see that, wow, okay, the marketing long-term works, because you'll never find it easier to convince a client that's already happy to stick with you than acquire a new client.